to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how I plan for the school year. So you've got your curriculum all picked out and you know what your state's requirements are and what your standards are for your students that year, and you have that all in mind. Now what do you do? Well, let's take a look at what I do, and hopefully that will help you figure out what's good for you. So when I first started out, I watched a ton of different videos and looked at a ton of different ways on how to plan for homeschooling. I was super nervous I was going to forget stuff or not know what I was doing. And so looking at all the different ways helped me to find my way. My way is very my own. It's my own. I've taken from all different places and put it together for what works for me. So hopefully this will help you find what your way is. Now, first of all, you definitely need to know your goals for the year, what standards you're going to be looking at, and what your state's requirements are for all of that. But besides that, then you also need to know how many days your state requires that you do school. That's super important because you do not want to get to the end of the school year and be short and have to fill in a bunch at the end when you're supposed to be on vacation or something. So usually it's somewhere between, I don't think I've seen anything less than 170 days, and I've not seen anything more than 180 days, but there's 50 states and I haven't looked at them all, so I don't know what your state is. For our state, it's 180 days. So I keep that number in mind, and then my very first thing that I do, I print off, I only have one right here and it's backwards for you guys, sorry, but I print off one of these peek at the whole year thing. You can find these for free online, or some planners have them. And I actually print off, this year and then next year, since the school year is 2020, or excuse me, school year is 20 to 21, or however you say that. So I have the years for that, or each peek at the years for that. And then I will go ahead and I highlight all of the, I don't know if you can see that, I highlight all of the holidays that we observe. That way I know what day, well, and some holidays we observe and we still do school and we actually use it to teach. But so I highlight the holidays that we observe and then we don't do school on those holidays. And I start out there, and then for Christmas, we always take a pretty extended period time off. And so I circle all the days that we are not going to be schooling. And then we have a vacation in October pretty much every single year. And so I circle those. And then any other vacations that I know about, or time that my husband and I are going to take off or whatever that I know about, I go ahead and circle those days because I know that I can't use those. And then I build the school year from there. Depending on what kind of vacations we already have set up, I might build in like a spring break type thing or a fall break type thing, just depending on, if we have like a huge span of 6 weeks or 8 weeks that I have planned for school and we have no break, we're gonna get burnt out. And so if I don't have any breaks in there, I might plan a day or two for us to have off. So then once I do all that, then I'll go through and count up how many days are left, which is how many days I will be schooling. And next to each month, I will write the number of days that we're schooling in, and then I can add it all up and make sure that it equals or surpasses perhaps the 180 days that we need. And so that would be over both months. It depends on how you are planning out your year. So my year, we homeschool year-round because for a whole slew of reasons I won't go into now, but we homeschool year-round. And so my state, I believe it is July to June. So I have to have 180 days in from July of this year to June of next year. And so that's how I figure out my 180 days. Some of you will do more of a traditional calendar and you'll start in August and end around May or June. And so you're just going to want to keep in mind how many days you need before the last day of school that you want. Now, because we year-round homeschool, our last day is really flexible, and actually, however you homeschool, it can likely be really flexible depending on what summer plans you have. Some people like to have an exact hard stop date. And if you want to have an exact hard stop date, I would highly recommend building in some possible like sick days or whatever, so if you need 180 days of school, go ahead and plan that you're going to have 185, 180, maybe even 190, so you have a cushion of if something happens and you can still meet your hard stop date. Now, people like me, I have quite a soft stop date, and so I do build in a little bit of leeway and flexibility because I don't want to like start pulling from the next school year for our days, but I don't necessarily build in a ton of like sick days or whatever. We have a couple and I don't worry about it so much, but that's just mostly because our stop date is kind of a soft general idea of a stop date. So then once you know, once you know your schedule of what days you're going to start, what days you will be schooling, where you'll have your vacations and your holidays, and what day you're stopping, then you can move on to the nitty-gritty of actually planning out your school year. Now, you'll want to keep in mind if you're going to do a co-op, how that will affect what you want/need to get done by the end of the school year. So something that I just really, really recommend, especially if this is like your first year of homeschooling, I really recommend that you be a little bit heavier on the planning than maybe you're used to, or maybe that you know you'll want to be in the future, because someone told me you can really plan it out and have a very detailed plan, and if you find that your lifestyle or your homeschooling style, you want to be looser and that ends up working for you and you can get things done that way, you can always loosen the reins. But it's so much harder once you get into this rhythm of being loosey-goosey and kind of doing a free-for-all, and if that doesn't work for you and you end up not getting things done or forgetting things, or for whatever reason it doesn't work and you have to pull in the reins and tighten up your schedule a little bit and your planning, it's a lot harder to do that. You and your kids will be so used to being loosey-goosey, and it'll be hard and it'll be yucky for a little bit to tighten those reins. So if you start here and start tight and can loosen up, that's always the best way to go. So I highly recommend that until you find what your needs are, because let's be honest, every mom is different. Some moms do so beautifully flying by the seat of their pants. It all gets done and they just do wonderfully at it. I am not that kind of mom. I cannot fly by the seat of my pants. I need to have at least a general to-do list or outline to know where I'm headed and where I need to be. Some moms need I need to do this time, this time, this time, so that way they can stay on task. All of those things are fine. You just need to find out what you need to be successful. Now, I like schedules and I like planning, but I have found that I am a routine type of homeschool mom, not necessarily a completely scheduled out, planned homeschool type of mom. So what I mean is, for me, the best way is I will plan out my homeschool year, and usually I have a pretty good overview of the whole entire year, and I will do from our start time to Christmas in pretty good detail, and then at Christmas time I will do from Christmas to the end in pretty good detail. So I have a pretty good idea of the whole year though, and then details for like a good chunk of the months. And then from there, if I have that schedule or that plan to fall back on, I get a little bit looser when we're actually living it out, and it becomes more of a routine or a general idea rather than we do this at this time and this at this time. I just like having that plan to fall back on, because sometimes I get sick and then we get all scrambled and we don't know what to do. Well, then there's a plan to fall back on. Or, you know, we have a bit of a crisis and things get crazy. Well, we have a plan to fall back on. We have these things that have been planned, and usually, like if we have crafts, I will prepare certain things ahead of time, and that's just helpful to fall back on or to be ready for us whenever we're ready for them. So that's how I do it. It doesn't work for everybody, so I don't necessarily recommend that for you. It's just what's going to work best for you, and I like having that cushion to fall back on, and then I can have the freedom to change things, you know, as the wind blows us, I suppose. So let me show you what my planning looks like. Okay, so I have yet to find a planner that I like. They're generally too tiny or too big, and the too big ones cost too much money, and then I have all this stuff that I don't need, and I get confused and overwhelmed. And because I'm the type of person, if it's there, I'm going to try and fill it in, and that's silly. So I believe her name's Becky. I think it's at Blessed Nest. She uses these folder things. I got it off of Amazon. Right here, it has like an accordion file, which I use for a couple things, and then the rest of it, oopsie, the rest of it is like a binder. And so I really like this. This has worked well for me the past year and a half. So I have like our attendance. I'll keep track of attendance. Then I have different tabs. So my first tab is my year and my monthly planning. And so this is all of our tabs right now. So this, I made this sheet up, but I don't, honestly, a lot of the stuff that I've gotten, I've taken from other people and then made my own, and I don't remember where I've gotten all of this stuff. This is a month at a glance. I saw it in some other planner, and I just didn't like the way they had it set up, and so I set it up for myself. I just used a Word document, I believe. But each month has a goals and outcomes, any activities and crafts that we're going to do. Because I should say, my oldest is a kindergartner, and then my youngest is, he hangs out with us. He's not really quite a preschooler yet. He is he'll be 3 in a couple months, so he just hangs out and does fun things. And then any things to remember that month, supplies that we might need, a reading list. I don't always fill that out unless we have specific, you know, unit studies or things that we're learning, or books that I want to try. And then any library books that we might need. And then things for me to make. This is really has to do with any activities that we do that I need to make ahead of time, or if we're going to do a craft or art stuff and it has things that need to be done in advance. That way I remember to do that, because my kids do not like sitting there watching me prep that. So this has been really helpful, just to, you know, if something's not going well or he really needs extra help with certain things, then I put that there and I can add that into our month. So, and then we're actually doing a unit study, so that's what's next. But after the month at a glance, then I have the actual month. Now, right now, this is not super planned out, because we do school all year round, but summer tends to be really relaxed. But so if we have things that we're specifically needing to work on outside of just his curriculum, maybe he is struggling with something and needs a little bit of extra work or supplemental work, I will write in when we're going to do those things. If we have a unit study, I kind of plan out what days we're going to do what things in that unit study. Let's see, at Christmas time, I will write in that, like, this week we want to do these activities, and usually I'll write it in Monday, and we'll just do it one of those days. Yeah, so this is more specific planning for the month, and I usually honestly don't fill this out until my month at a glance is filled out at the beginning of that month, except so like here in a month or two, I will start planning our next months a little bit more in depth. And so, like, let's see, at Christmas time, we will do specific activities, and so I will write in certain activities for Christmas time, or different crafts that we want to do throughout the year, or if we want to do a unit study about apples in August or September, I'll write all that in as we go. That's as specific as we ever get, and it's pretty flexible. Things tend to get like crossed out and moved down depending on what's going on. So like I said, it's always just a base. It's a starting point for me, or a thing to fall back onto if we completely change our minds. And then my next tab is schedules and loop scheduling. Okay, this is where the bread and butter is at for us. So how I have liked doing it is I have a block plan and a loop schedule. The block plan for our summer, we only do 3 days a week. And so for the block plan, I know the first day, like every day we do a daily circle time, morning basket, however you want to call it. We do that, and each day I kind of have a different focus. There are certain things we do every day, and then a couple different things we do on different days. And then after that, like, so for us, we do Bible, we do songs, we memorize a poem, we do calendar stuff. And then on the first day, we'll sing something about weeks, days, or months for my kids, and then we do Bible. And then after we do all that, then we moved on to reading and, phonics, so whatever has to do with that. Right now, we're kind of solidifying some things before we move on, so we're doing Explode the Code. Then we move on to math. I actually have these flipped. We do PE on our first day, and then my husband and I actually exercise while they're doing their PE classes. But before we do that, we actually do our loop stuff before that, just because once we have been active, it's hard to come and sit back down. And then we read aloud every day. It doesn't matter if it's a school day or not. We read aloud every day. So this is how I block schedule. Come August, it will be 4 days a week, because we do school 4 days a week. Normally, and it'll be a little bit more set. Summer is a little bit more free for all-ish for us. And then, so the loop. If you've never heard of loop scheduling, this is perfect for us, because I can really schedule things out, but I don't necessarily have to say which day they're happening. And I should say on here, so for our math, I do have a math curriculum that I use, and we do some supplemental type things, but on our math curriculum, I don't plan out what comes next or what is which day. I just move to the next thing, and then I move on when he's done. Same with reading. We just do the next thing until we move on. And so I don't plan out like this lesson is this day or whatever. That's just too overwhelming for me, because it can change, people get sick, and then I have to rewrite it, and it's annoying. So that's another reason why this loop schedule is so wonderful. These are the other things that we do not do necessarily every day, but we want to do, and how frequently we want to do them. And so then this is what the loop looks like. So for us, it's handwriting, art, logic, Spanish or sign language, handwriting again, crafts, social studies, art again, and science. And so then this is planned out a little bit more specifically, but not for a certain day, just for whatever comes next. So on Monday, we get our reading and our math done, and our Bible done, of course, too. And then we have time for handwriting, let's say, but my son is really getting burnt out after that. Maybe math was really hard for him that day, and so he gets burnt out after handwriting. Well, then we'll move on to PE and call it a day. Then the next day, let's say he had a pretty good day and he's feeling really good and really kind of into school. Well, then we'll do art. He also loves art, but we'll do art, we'll do logic, and we'll do our language stuff, and then he's done. So you just pick up where you left off the day before, or the week before if you don't have time. So loop scheduling is beautiful for those things that you don't really have to do every day, but you want to do pretty often. And this is where I can get pretty specific about what we're going to do. And for our art projects and crafts, if I see something's coming up, I will prep it like that week or the day before. If I know it's coming the next day, I know what to prep. And yeah, so this has been great. this is for the summer, so it's pretty loose and I don't have a ton filled in, but when I start planning the actual like into the school year, I will have quite a few of these pages filled out because then I can just go for it. Let's see, I have a unit study thing. I don't use that a whole bunch. I do have unit study planning pages, and we do them every once in a while, generally for culture or social studies or extras, but I don't like planning them, so I don't do a ton of them. And in my planning binder, I don't have it yet, but I do keep things for our standards, any assessments that I might want to do to see how my son is doing. And then this, he's about done with this. He's kind of outgrown this, but I did have motor skills that we needed to be working on and where he was at with it. Now, finally, with planning, in this I have like a curriculum and yearly planning section, and this has a hodgepodge of things, but this first page is goals. So this is goals for this year, and I really like having this because halfway through the year, then I can come through with I usually come through with a different color and write down how he's doing with that goal and maybe what we need to do to meet that goal, how we need to continue. And this has, I'm trying not to show my son's name, this has a strengths, this is strengths and things to improve, and strengths and things to improve. And so this is where we're starting at, and then halfway through he will probably grow in strengths and we will learn what more he needs to improve to meet the goals for that year in kindergarten. So this page is really helpful to have and is kind of like a built-in mid-year assessment, because then I can go through and say, what curriculum do I maybe need to pitch? What's not working for us? Maybe I need to supplement some things. This will tell me. And then I just have a couple other like these are curriculum we're using this year and how we want to go for it. I keep ideas for extracurricular activities, field trip ideas back here, because then I can put those in my monthly planning when it becomes obvious that makes sense for us to do at the time. And then I also have my vision statement and stuff back here. And I have a place, I can't seem to find it, but I do have a place somewhere back here where I keep, like if I hear of a curriculum that might work for us later or that I want to look into, I keep that written down in here as well. Okay, so this is getting kind of long and I apologize, but this is how I do it. And so it's a little bit lengthy for me to explain because I want to make sure that I'm doing a good job explaining it. So it'll look different for everybody, and that's totally fine. You need to find what works for you. I hope that some of this will inspire you on what will work for you to plan out your school year. What will give you confidence? That's key. What will give you confidence in your homeschooling year? What kind of plan, what kind of schedule will give you confidence to move forward? And it will most likely change, and that's okay. Like I said, you want to plan kind of more tightly and give yourself something to fall back on, because you can always loosen it up and get freedom from there and move on from it. A couple other places that I would suggest checking out: Pam Barnhill, some of her stuff you have to pay for. It's Homeschooling Solutions, but there is a lot of free ideas. She explains loop scheduling really, really well. I believe it's on her website, and it's definitely on her podcast, and that's actually where I learned how to do it. Erica over at Confessions of a Homeschooler has some fantastic ways that you can schedule. She has some very detailed scheduling, and that was really helpful for me to get started on, and then to kind of make it my own from there. She has some free scheduling planner type stuff, and then a couple things that you can pay for as well. So just take a look at her site. And while I'm talking about that, I should say she has what she suggests for each year, like different subjects and how long it should take, which is also very helpful. I hope that some of my tips and tricks were helpful for you as well. Let me know in the comments how you like to schedule, or any special hacks that you've found for scheduling your homeschool year. And if you have any extra questions, please let me know. I really do want to help. I have appreciated watching other people take the time with their YouTube channels, and I hope to be able to do the same for you. Leave me a comment, like this video, or subscribe if you are liking what you see. Thanks.